This story is coming out of Chicago. Yes, Chirac. So I know people might get offended. So there's no need to flaggy the video if you get offended. But we're going to talk about some things that just happened in the story. But I want to know if you guys are going to be surprised about this. The Illinois Department of Children and Family Services had released a detailed report about their contact with a family of a 2-year-old boy that was found dead on Monday. This is very recent. That little boy's name is Gibbons. All right. Now we're going to talk about his father here in a minute because hashtag where the fathers. The father actually spoke out in the story, which I thought was pretty cool. We finally was able to at least hear from a father. But the father's name is Robert Gibbons. Okay. But the difference with this is just like what a lot of the stories we talk about. The father was not in this story. We're going to talk about that guy, and his name is Dejan Waters. And we're going to talk about that crappy ass mother over there. Her name is Brittany Hike. Like hike, like hike. I'm sorry, I don't know. Anyway, prosecutors say that 2-year-old Jahir Gibbons was beaten to death on Monday. DCFS, and you guys are going to hear that terminology a lot, Department of Children and Family Services, DCFS, said Thursday night they are investigating whether a caseworker falsified records about a home visit just 2 days earlier. I want to know if you guys are surprised by this, because guess what? I'm not. Because if you get a ton of complaints, in my opinion, I know, being a child protective services worker is a difficult job, but I'm just saying, and yes, you did. I want to say thank you very much to the person that donated. Her name is Sharon White in the chat, and I think she donated. No, she donated through Cash App. So let me get that right. Let me add you for showing love to the show, and also want to say thank you to one other person that donated in the PayPal. I got to make sure that I can read their name and their message. But I hope you guys will not be surprised by this, because they get a lot of reports. As you guys know, that we have talked about a lot of stories coming out of Euclid, Ohio. We just closed out a case, most of the case that was done on Anaya Day Garrett. But I'm telling you, there's a second part that's coming to that, because they're probably getting ready to sue the system out there. So shout out to Michael Garrett. He has every right to sue at least that county. I don't know if he could sue the whole state, but Child Protective Services continues to keep failing these children. And I'm going to tell you why, because it's a rather long story, but I'm going to try to tell it really quick. Okay. So this is Don Love. So Don Love, if you're in the chat, I want to say thank you to you for donating. Okay. Now, they're investigating whether a caseworker falsified records about a home visit 2 days earlier. The child's mother her name is Brittany Hike. Her age is 28 years old. Let me see if I can get her back on the screen for you guys so you can see exactly who I'm talking about. Right there. Well, it was there. Let me see if I can get it back on the screen for you. Right there. Brittany is on the right, and Dejan Waters, age 21, is her boyfriend. So that makes her 7 years the senior of her boyfriend. She's 7 years older than her boyfriend. Okay. Now, both of them have been charged in the child abuse death of the 2-year-old boy. Now, that's according to the Chicago Police Department. Now, Jahir's father, Robert Gibbons, said he called DCFS several times to report his son was being abused. But the Department of Children and Family Services worker assigned to the case did not note or failed to note the old bruises, because it appears the employee initially lied in the reports about actually seeing him. Wow. I feel they ignored the abuse and allowed Jahir to go back in the home, and now he's dead. That's coming from the father. And I think he has a very, very solid case against DCFS. Now, DCFS released a statement, of course, saying that as part of the initial review of Jahir's case, DCFS learned that 2 separate and contradictory reports were submitted regarding the home visit and have ordered an investigation into the caseworker responsible for it. All right. So we'll see how that goes. I definitely think that they need to do their due diligence, because you definitely don't want people messing up your entire system over maybe one person that did something wrong. So they definitely want to separate themselves from any wrongdoing. All right. Now, DCFS said they found 2 reports submitted in the case. One from the morning of March the 17th that said both children were in the home on March 16th at 12:30 p.m. And the second from the morning of March 19th that said only one child, Josiah, was home March 16th at 12:45 p.m. The DCFS said that the caseworker was employed by a private agency called Omni, which is OMNI. I've never even heard of that agency. We'll look into that another time. So for now, take a pen, bookmark that part of the story. We'll come back to it at some other point. Now, in a report, DCFS said that they had prior contact with the family concerning Jahir's 2 older half-siblings. Ooh, that's a tongue twister. 2 older half-siblings between 2010 and 2013 before the toddler was born. So they already had been called out on Brittany Hike, the mother. All right. Now, DCFS said in those 3 years, they've received 4, count them, 4 allegations of inadequate supervision or risk of physical and environmental injury. Guys, for the people that are watching, do me a favor, hit that thumbs up. I want to say thank you to everybody that's already hit that thumbs up, but it'll share the show and let other people know that we're live. Just look down and just click that thumbs up if you haven't already done so, okay? They received 4 allegations of inadequate supervision or risk of physical and environmental injury. Not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, against this mother. Keep in mind, I always told you guys, it's crazy how the fathers are limited in their contact with the children because the mothers have the ability to prevent these men from being able to see their children and spend time with their children and have custody of their children. But they're quick to put their boyfriends in the position that the father should be in. And too many times, like I continue to keep bringing you stories, the boyfriends don't care nearly about these kids like the fathers would. They treat them like crap and they tend to abuse them. All right, let's talk about this a little bit more. Upon investigation, DCFS said they found 3 allegations that were unfounded, and the 4th was appealed by the mother and later ruled unfounded by a judge. All right. Now, the court granted DCFS temporary custody of Jahir's sister in October 2010 and the oldest brother in June of 2012. So she lost both of her kids, one in 2010 and then the other in 2012. In my opinion, if you're losing kids, then why should you allow to be continuing to procreate and continue to just keep giving birth? Am I wrong for saying that? You guys can let me know in the chat. Carla, Relationship Rehab, Colleen, Summer, Felicity. Am I wrong for saying what I'm saying? If they took one child, if they take another child, you could just literally just produce another one. You get to have access to just keep producing children. That's the weird thing about women, and it's also an innate responsibility on women's part to make sure that you are taking care of your children and doing what's best in the best interest of your children. Because that's something that men can't necessarily do. But women can have 5, 6 children taken, and they can literally just go make another one and put another kid right back inside that dangerous environment. Let's keep going. The court granted DCFS temporary custody of both of the kids. In both cases, the children were not returned to their mother. So they kept the kids, did not give custody back to the mom. Let's keep going. DCFS said in May of 2013, Jahir's older brother was born and the agency was granted temporary custody. He was placed into a foster home, but in June of 2015, I guess? June of 2015, there's a typo in there, was returned to his mother, DCFS said. He remained in her care at the time of Jahir's death, the agency said. That was their final contact with the family until November of 2017. Falsifying records will not be tolerated. That is DCFS Interim Director Deborah Dyer-Webster said in a statement. DCFS will pursue all available discipline, including termination, if records were falsified. There's been a string, I want you guys to hear this correctly. There has been a string of 12 directors in 10 years. I want to make sure everybody catches what I just said. There's been a string of 12 directors in 10 years. Acting Cook County Public Guardian Charles Gobert said, that's on average of a new director that's on average a new director more often than every year. Y'all see how broken that system is? More than a new director every year. We really need to get a long-term leadership team with some vision and innovation. The incident raises more questions about how the agency dealt with the allegations of abuse against the boy's mother and her boyfriend and how it monitored the well-being of the children. Jahir was beaten so violently that his liver was lacerated in his back. The liver was lacerated. But he also showed signs of older injuries such as rib fractures. Guys, keep in mind, we're talking about a lacerated liver and broken ribs on a 2-year-old. Put that in the proper perspective. I truly, truly believe that they should be held responsible for this, Gibbons said. This baby could have been saved, and this is coming from an activist by the name of Andrew Holmes. The boy's mother, again, Brittany Hike, age 28, was charged with child endangerment, and her boyfriend, 21-year-old Dejon, D-E-J-O-N, Waters, was charged with first-degree murder. Now, granted, if he did what they're accusing him of doing, putting his hands, feet, and other objects on this kid and cause this kid to be dead, I get it. But let me ask how many people out there that are watching the show right now think that the mother should be charged more harshly? Because I do. I think the mother should be charged equally because she not only has a record of not being able to take care of kids properly, but then you had another kid and then put another kid in this same position. And now you're on kid number 3 that not only should have been taken out of her custody, but the kid ended up dead. What do y'all think? Am I wrong? Am I wrong? The mother should also be facing equal charges. I want to make sure that you guys hear me correctly. Even if the boyfriend is guilty of doing the murder, the mother should be charged equally because she likes this thug and put this thug in the midst of her kid and allowed this kid to be mistreated over a long period of time, practically since the moment he was born. That's exactly why I said what I just said, because people will look at it and say, well, she wasn't the one that did this and did that. No, she put the baby in the position. If you put the kid in danger, then you should be charged equally. All right? Just want everybody to make sure they know that I'm advocating for children first. I think that's the right thing that she should have been charged with. Now, Reverend Charles Jackson said he knew the 2-year-old and his family and described the toddler as joyful and sweet. He looks like a very nice kid. I always ask, what could a face like this? Look at that little boy, y'all. Can y'all look at that? Can y'all hit the thumbs up if y'all are looking at this little boy? And y'all tell me, how bad could this little boy have been to deserve what he got? What possibly could he have done that was that freaking bad? There are just some people, and that's the actual father right there, just to let you guys know. But this thing it's crazy, and you know, until we continue to keep calling this thing out, like, people are just going to continue to turn a blind eye to this. This is a bigger issue, and it's unbelievable that DCF continues to drop the ball like this. Okay, now the mother and boyfriend are facing felony charges. The boyfriend, again, Dejan Waters, was charged with first-degree murder after he admitted getting angry at the boy and beating him with his hands in a rolled-up shirt until Jahir began foaming at the mouth. Rewind. Let me tell that again. Dejan was charged with first-degree murder after he admitted getting angry at the boy and beating him with his hands and a rolled-up shirt until Jahir began foaming at the mouth. Again, Brittany Hike, age 28, was charged with child endangerment because she left Jahir with Waters. That's why I think she needs to be charged with murder. But nonetheless, even though she had noticed bruises and burns on Jahir for a week or two, like I said, because she had to go work, left her kid in this dangerous position, knew it was dangerous, knew that this kid was getting beat on. To me, that's equivalent to murder. Can we step the level of responsibility up? And can we say that this woman should be charged the same as this man? I think so. This is the time for other parents to wake up, to understand that you need to look out for your children. At the same time, if you are not fit to be a full parent, it's okay. It's no denial to look to it. It's no denial to it. Look for the help. They wrote that kind of weird. Jahir will be laid to rest at the Westgate Funeral Home, which I think is where they're saying that you guys can donate if you want to do that. Westgate Funeral Home, address 616 Washington Street in Waukegan on Saturday. Family members are trying to figure out how to pay for the services of the 2-year-old boy they did not think they would be saying goodbye to. For information on making a donation for Jahir's funeral, they left the link, and I think that's to Westgate Funeral Home. Let's go ahead and get to the videos real quick and show you guys the fair usage before we do that. Federal law allows citizens to reproduce, distribute, or exhibit portions of copyrighted motion pictures, videotapes, or video discs under certain circumstances without the authorization of the copyright holder. This is called fair use. It is allowed for purposes of criticism, news reporting, teaching, and parody, which doesn't infringe of copyright under 17 U.S.C. 107. Can I get somebody to put in the chat, if you date thugs, you date death? Can somebody get that date thugs, date death hashtag in the chat? Somebody? Can somebody do that for me? I really would appreciate that. And thank you to everybody that's already hit the thumbs up. It let other people know that we're live right now, okay?
2-year-old Jahir Gibbons was covered with new and old bruises when he was brought to the hospital Monday, where he died less than an hour later. But the DCFS worker assigned to the case didn't note the old bruises because it appears the employee initially lied in reports about actually seeing him.
This baby could have been saved.
Allegations of falsifying records and neglect of duty are sadly nothing new for DCFS. We combed through 5 years of Office of Inspector General reports and found 21 cases of employees caught falsifying records since 2014. We also found...
Wow, really? Damn. 21 cases of falsifying records, guys. That's an epidemic. That's a problem. Failing to properly investigate 6 cases.
Found 6 cases of workers reported for failing to properly investigate.
Wow. And that's causing these children to end up dead. That's just unforgivable, man. Damn.
Last year, a child protection investigator resigned after falsifying visit records. Last year, charges were also filed against a private agency caseworker for forging his supervisor's signature. Between July 2017 and July 2018, the Inspector General investigated 98 cases of kids who died in the care of DCFS.
Wow, 98? Sheesh. Y'all hear that?
18 of them considered homicides.
Wow.
My daughter is missing.
17-month-old Samajay Crosby was found dead under a couch in a Joliet Township home in 2017. In August, the case led to a lawsuit against DCFS, alleging that workers failed to complete safety assessments and share vital records. These types of allegations go back more than 3 decades. In fact, the ACLU has monitored DCFS as part of a federal consent decree since 1991. Still, in 1997, we covered the death of a 3-year-old boy on the city's south side that was eerily similar to that of the toddler who lost his life this week.
Wow.
An autopsy revealed that the child's ribs had been broken in the past. All of this came as a shock to DCFS.
Now, of the 21 cases of falsifying records that we found, DCFS complied with the Inspector General's recommendations for discipline in most of those cases.
Recommendation for discipline, but the problem with discipline is that it shouldn't have to be incorporated. Did you guys catch that? I'm gonna move on to the next video, but discipline should not have to be incorporated. All you got to do is do what you're supposed to do. Do the job that you are hired and paid to do. These people are paid to go check on the well-being of these children, and they are literally saying, yeah, I went to go check on them, and they didn't go. Wow. That is just, I don't know what to say. That's unforgivable. They probably need to be facing jail time. Don't just fire them. Don't just fire them. They need to be going to jail too. Let's move on. Let's move on with the next video, and then we're going to wrap up.
Other big story, CBS 2 has learned the caseworker who allegedly lied on a DCFS report about this 2-year-old who died is no longer working with families. We have team coverage of the investigation. We've been poring over documents and finding that workers have lied in the past. We begin with Mai Martinez live at the State of Illinois building with new details she's learned about the case. Mai.
Well, Erica, we asked DCFS for an on-camera interview with anyone who could talk about the case or the case worker. That request was not granted. So we went to the governor and the workers' company for answers.
I'm outraged.
Outraged Governor J.B. Pritzker says by the system and circumstances that led to the beating death of 2-year-old Jahir Gibbons, police say at the hands of his mother's boyfriend, Dejan Waters.
There's an individual and an agency that have made gross mistakes.
That individual, the caseworker who visited Jahir's home 2 days before he was killed and filed a report saying he and his 5-year-old brother were safe, but following Jahir's death submitted a second report saying he wasn't present during the visit.
Here we have people who are responsible being irresponsible, maybe even filing false reports.
The caseworker...
That should be criminal in itself. Forging documents? What's the other one? Falsifying? That should be a jailable offense.
Filing false reports.
The caseworker came to DCFS through a state contract with Omni Youth Services, which provides about 24 employees to the state at a cost of about $3 million a year. Governor Pritzker says that contract and others with DCFS are now under review. A CBS 2 producer caught up with Omni's executive director Jay Meyer at their Buffalo Grove headquarters to ask about the death of Jahir.
Anytime a child dies, it's a tragedy.
As for the allegation of false reporting by the caseworker, Meyer says the employee has been removed from service.
If you have a DCFS contract and you have an employee who is being investigated, that employee can no longer work with families or children. That's per DCFS policy.
Meantime, Governor Pritzker placed some of the blame for the DCFS mess on his predecessor and the lack of investment in caseworkers, social services, and finding proper leadership for the state agency, which has had 12 directors in 10 years. Pritzker vows to change that, starting with funding for 126 new caseworkers to reduce the backlog of cases.
The governor says the priority right now is to check on the situation of every child in the state's care, but how that will be accomplished with a system that is already overloaded is unclear.
Wow, man, that's sad, man. But again, I'll tell you guys that the responsibility shouldn't, I don't want you guys to hear me correctly. The responsibility still has to fall on the parents at the end of the day, which is why I feel like both parents, well, I'd say both parents, the mother and boyfriend need to be doing the same amount of jail time.
The Cook County Medical Examiner's Office has ruled this child's death a homicide, and they say his injuries are consistent with child abuse. Right now, his mother and a male are being held here by police, and charges are pending. This is little 2-year-old Jahir Gibbons. Monday evening, officers were called to this apartment building at 60th and South Prairie about an unresponsive child.
It was a lot of bumping. I knew it was something going on that wasn't right. Whole time, it's a baby up there getting beat to death. Sad.
Damn, sister, really? Like, my people. My people. Can I ask a question, guys? Why do we have to curse at the news people? Not at the news people, but during like a, you know, this is going to be broadcast on TV. Like, where's the decorum at? Like, golly, come on, man. Man, you know, I know my brother Tommy talks about this a lot, but it's always our sisters doing the wildest crap. Golly.
About an unresponsive child.
It was a lot of bumping. I knew it was something going on that wasn't right. Whole time, it's a baby up there getting beat to death. Sad. It's so sad.
Jesus Christ.
Soon after hearing the commotion, neighbors say Jahir's mother came across the hall frantically begging for help.
I thought it was him fighting her or something. Like, I didn't know that they trying to, I hear him hollering, "Shut up, I got this."
I see her holding the baby in her hand. The baby was limped, basically, and she's saying, like, "My baby's not breathing, my baby's not breathing."
What is up with those glasses? Good Lord, man. Like, come on. Why? Why the glasses, man? Why do we have to make a spectacle out of ourselves every time?
I got this.
I see her holding the baby in her hand. The baby was limped, basically, and she's saying, like, "My baby's not breathing, my baby's not breathing." Bruises from head to toe, 2 open wounds on his face, the size of a penny.
Chanel Perkins is a CNA and just happened to be visiting a relative in the building.
Oh, wow. Guys, this is how we about to wrap this story up. Limped. Yeah, I heard that too, Colleen. Limped. What is limped? But, you know, I mispronounce things sometimes, but she's not reading, she's speaking. I don't even speak that way. But nonetheless, this is something that my brother Tommy's been talking about for years. You see all these women out here that share my skin hue. And no fathers. Hashtag where the fathers. Hashtag where the men. Hashtag This is what the black community looks like in a nutshell.
She didn't feel Jahir's pulse, so she jumped into action.
I'm doing CPR on the baby, and I can't stop. I'm doing chest compressions. I feel like the baby was gasping for air.
Little Jahir was transported to Comer Children's Hospital, where he was pronounced dead. Tuesday afternoon, shaken neighbors gathered outside the apartment for a prayer vigil and balloon release for the child. The Illinois Department of Children and Family Services has been involved with this family since 2010 for abuse allegations related to Jahir's siblings. The most recent case was opened last October. The state agency says Jahir's mother was reportedly abusing the 2-year-old. DCFS caseworkers were just at the home Saturday investigating child abuse complaints after neighbors reported hearing commotion. DCFS is also investigating to determine what could have been done to prevent this child's death and to also prevent any more future deaths of children.
She shouldn't have been allowed to have more children. That might have prevented it. But what do I know? This is the last video, guys. We're getting ready to wrap up here in a minute. So I need you guys, if you are watching, thank you to everybody to hit the thumbs up. If you're watching, go ahead and click that thumbs up for me. We're going to wrap up just like this. Then we're going to read out the support that came in to this story, okay? So I think what I'm going to probably do is wrap up and say what I got to say right here. So we're going to play this small video. I don't think it has any audio to it, but I'm going to say it like this. First and foremost, DCFS sucks. They're a horrible organization. They need to be overhauled. They need to be fixed. Okay? First and foremost. Second thing is, if we had a foundation, balance, mother and father, biological mother, biological father in the household, some of this stuff can get cut down. On top of that, number 3 is if we had children inside of wedlock, then some of this also wouldn't happen, because that would show that we're at least making some kind of a commitment to each other. And if we're not willing to make that commitment to each other, then we probably should not be bringing children into this world outside of a marriage, because we're really, as a community, we're not taking these births and these children and their protection and love and nurturing, we're not taking it seriously. So if we're not going to be in like a situation where we are under the same roof, then I really think that we need to really just stop having kids, because this is not faring well for the children. They end up in poverty. They end up getting, hurt. They end up getting abused. You get mad. You get frustrated. It's just not a good thing for the children. Okay. So this is something I want to throw out there to the girlfriend, to the mother and the boyfriend in this story, Brittany Hike and Dejan Waters. I hope that they get very harsh sentences, because they deserve it. But DCFS is failing these kids, and I definitely think that they need to be sued to oblivion. That's my opinion. This is your boy DJ Just Jay. I'm signing off. Thank you guys so much for the support, and we're going to continue to keep speaking for children and advocating for children first, because if this young man were able to speak for himself, I'm sure that he would say that my mother did me no justice, nor did her having a boyfriend in the house as opposed to my father was also very detrimental. All right, you guys have a great evening. Enjoy your Saturday. We will see you guys tomorrow for the next show, for the next story, and we'll see you guys later.